So let's go ahead and get started. We're happy to have with us today Dr. Kim Nimon with our Human Resource Development PhD program. And she's going to be sharing a little bit of information with us about the program. Let me scoot over to the agenda slide. So these are the things she's going to be talking about. Kim, if you would like to just jump in there and take it away. I'll step back in when we talk about the application process and the procedures there, but Kim can tell you all about the program.
Yeah, and if I can't, you may need to be my mouse.
I'll be your mouse.
Okay, that's great. So I just do want to just camp out a little bit to kind of talking about the opportunity because it really is an opportunity to earn what I consider a very unique degree. Terminal degree is what we call doctorate degrees, although there are terminal degrees in other programs like art, that MFA, for example, is a terminal degree. But the idea of it is it's kind of the end of your academic training. And so I'm going to kind of go that second bullet. We are the only HRD program in a college of business in the United States, which is really quite a distinguishing moment. And it's the right place. I think, 10, 20 years from now, that many of the programs will be in the colleges of business. But HRD, as it has evolved from being many years ago, kind of vocational education, and then training and development, now we're seeing people sitting with the executives. And so it's appropriate to be in a college of business so that people have the training to sit at the boardroom at the same level. People with terminal degrees or a PhD, in addition to becoming scholars, which is how I got into it, what I've done with my degree, also to become chief learning officers, executive vice presidents of human resources or human resource development, many positions at that executive level. So it's a research degree, and that's different than other doctoral degrees. And I don't think I understood all this when I went to go get a degree. Mine's from the University of North Texas. But you'll see in the doctorate level degrees, so you can see doctorate of educations. You can see doctorate of philosophy, which is what a PhD is. You can see doctorate of business administration. There's probably others, but those are kind of the ones that you might see if you were looking at other programs. And what distinguishes the PhD from these others is that it's very, very heavily research-based. So what my view is, what we do is we help people either become or maybe advance, because people can be at different stages, but we help you develop your abilities to be a scholar or scholar practitioner. So if you're not interested in doing research, then we're probably not the best place for you. But if you are interested in doing research, then we are a great place. And we have almost a 50-50 split between those that take their degree and become, they stay in the corporate world. And then the other half transition to an academic world. And Greg Keiffer, who's on Zoom with us, can speak to that. He had a long corporate background and then made a conscious decision, like I did, to transition into the academic world. And his PhD was how I did that. And Greg, since you're here, if you want to say a couple of things about it, that would be helpful.
I certainly will, and thank you for putting me on the spot. I thought I was just joining just to be here. But Dr. Nimon, you're very correct, and I would echo the concept. I really wasn't sure what I was getting into regarding that it is a research degree, albeit I had a very strong mentor in Dr. Brooks that I spoke to numerous times over and over again about appropriate programs. So personally, my big thing about the degree at in HRD at UT Tyler at the time was the faculty was the main driver in the sense, and I still find that to be holding true, is that the faculty within the program are phenomenal. Dr. Kim being one of those, of course. You will not find faculty within, my personal opinion, other programs that are as dedicated as what those are up at UT Tyler. So that was one of the major differentiation points about UT Tyler comparatively to other degree programs that I researched, was that the faculty were top notch. And that's, if you're going to go pursue this type of degree, you want to be at the best place possible. Kim, the second thing that you said is that it's within the College of Business. My long-term plan coming into the program was to eventually move into an academic role. It came about much earlier than what I was planning to do, but the concept long-term, within 10, 15, 20 years of earning the degree, was to go into the academic field. That happened actually before the degree was done, as you probably remember.
Mm-hmm.
But being within a college of business was extremely critical because that's where I wanted to go teach eventually, was within a college of business. If I had earned a degree in a college of education from a different university, I would not be able to be where I am today working in a college of business. I would be working in a college of education. So that's one line point that was extremely critical for me. And I know that you'll get to this in a minute. The other huge opportunity for me with this particular program was the ability to still work full-time with a family, with young kids at the time, and complete this degree program because of the flexibility with the nature of the Friday, Saturday meetings, but also some of the hybrid nature of the online work, but the ability to just still be working 60, 80 hours a week with the family and everything, and still complete the degree program.
Thanks. Alicia, will you go to the hyperlink in the field of HRD? You want to kind of bring up this HRD wheel that we have. So Greg Wong, who is one of our faculty, has created this, and part of his research is really to help identify and shape what our field is, because HRD probably as a discipline is somewhat young in comparison to other areas of research, like more the hard sciences. And so there's always maybe some discussion amongst academicians as to who we are and what we are and what's our turf, what's somebody else's turf. And so I kind of put this HR wheel together. And so for folks that may have more of an HRM background and maybe don't quite have an understanding of HRD, I thought this graphic might kind of give you a sense of kind of where we spend a lot of our energy in the content courses, because separate from teaching research, we have a particular domain that we teach that research in, and then we have content courses. So if you look at the sub chunks of the wheel by change and learning, you can see that's where we're focusing. So we focus a lot on organizational development. So things like organizational culture, readiness for change. Then of course with that, our ethics and social political responsibility. And then the more traditional part of our roots would be learning. But now it's not just learning, it's also unlearning and unskilling. So those are the kind of the tenets of what the content courses are based. And then what's core to all of this, whether you're HRM or HRD or HR, is performance improvement. So everything that we're doing is guided towards what can we do to help employees do their job in a better way to help improve performance for the organization. That being either faster, better, or cheaper. And I always taught pick two because you can't have all three. So that's just a short kind of brief overview of kind of what the content's about. So I think we can go back. I think that arrow should take you back to the original slide. Okay. So I want to kind of just give you a sense that you've heard from Greg and you heard from me that we are the only program in the College of Business, but people, maybe that's not for them. They may want to look at other programs. So Alicia, if you'll go to the HRD program link, I just kind of want to show you kind of who I guess our competing programs are, and to also show you who are, and you may be coming up on a different screen. It should come up to the URL. Yeah.
Yeah, let me.
So our professional home is the Academy of Human Resource Development. And you probably heard Greg and I referring, depending on when you came into this webinar, because we just came from Atlanta, where we had our annual conference. And it really was wonderful because in addition to, all of our faculty go, and in addition to that, we bring students. But what's been really cool to see is to see our alums, right? Our alums come back. And we had such a great time at the Academy. And in fact, we were even talking about what do we do to kind of almost solidify this so that we can take advantage of the fact that we're all together, because new faculty kind of have, different challenges, and to be able to kind of share these things, and old faculty need new ideas of how to teach. So it's all a great opportunity. But anyway, here's the Kim Unplugged, right? But what you can see here are the other institutions. And so if a College of Business is not attracted to you, attracted to you, or there's some other reason you want to look at other institutions, here's where you could go. There are other programs that give provide programs in HRD. They may or may not be part of this Program Excellence Network, but the Academy of Human Resource Development is our academic home. In that academic home, there's a group of universities that say, hey, we are committed to excellence. And they meet, in addition to coming to the conference, they meet before the conference. And it's a lot of times it's department chairs or program coordinators, and they share ideas. And so what the cool thing is about our community is, if I'm going to create a new course in, I don't know, something to do with organizational development, and for some reason I've not done that before, and maybe our institution hasn't done that before, I can contact my colleagues in this network and ask them, hey, would you share a syllabus, or how did this book work, or whatever. We are, it's kind of cool that we're a small community and diverse, but you can see we're diverse geographically. And so we all just really have this common theme, which is we really want to help employees, and we want to help scholars and scholar practitioners develop employees to their full potential to improve organizational performance. And we know we don't know it all, but we can tap into these resources from other universities. And I'm not sure all academic disciplines are quite that way, but I think because we're so focused on development, we do development within our discipline as well. So there are kind of our competitors, if you will, and they're all great programs. So I could tell you about any of them. UNT is where I got my degree from. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so this part feels a little funny, but if you'll link to the work with leading scholars in the field, it feels a little not very humble to say that. But anyway, my colleagues are leading scholars in the field. We've got a lot of experience in the field. So our folks have been on the board of the Academy of Human Resource Development. We have a long career of working as editors with Human Resource Development Quarterly. Greg Wong, who you heard me reference before, was a quantitative methods editor for HRDQ. I then, as a very early professor, came on, took his role when he went off to go do the Chinese Human Resource Development Journal. Then I sat as associate editor. Andrea Ellinger, he's just retired at the end of December, worked as editor, and then I took over with two other colleagues and was co-editor for HRDQ. So again, we just put a ton of energy into feeding back into our discipline. Judy Soon just came on the board for Academy of Human Resource Development. Paul Roberts has worked on a benchmarking survey for the Academy, as well as he's had a directory of human resource development institutions that he has managed for many years. In fact, he just won last year the Service Award for that work. And Rochelle has done a ton of work with advances in developing human resources and putting together special issues with things like virtual HRD. So, well, Greg, you can say, I'll say it, and then Greg can tell me if I'm lying. But students see us all the time, right? And so they think, yeah, okay, whatever, we're our faculty. But when we go take our students to the conference, they come back and they go, oh, wow. It's like, we're just whatever. But then when they go to the conference, they see us in a little bit different light, because people see us in a different light. Obviously, we're just, we're sitting here just doing our work teaching. But we do a ton of work for the Academy, and that is thankfully recognized a lot. People recognize a lot for the service that we do for the Academy. And so you really are working with people that were well networked. We know people at all these different institutions, and all those people also have employees working in corporate positions. And so we're just really as a well-connected family. Did I lie about any of that, Greg?
You did not lie at all. And it's one of those, I guess, funny things when you go to the conferences that as you're into the program, you start reading just volumes of material, and you start latching on to different authors who you say, I'd like to really meet that person. And you go find that person at the conference, and you meet them, and you realize that they're just a human being, which is wonderful, and you get to have a great conversation with them. But you're very correct, is that the scholars within the UT program come over, and it's a one-on-one interaction that we have, because we're in class all the time, and we become colleagues from that perspective, but then others at the conference come over and they're starstruck that, oh, there's Kim Nimon. Can I go talk to her? I'm like, well, let me go introduce you. Oh, how do you know her? She's just Kim Nimon. Let me go talk to her with you.
Yeah.
But it's very true that, the faculty, and I think that's a very consistent aspect, which is important. I entered into the program in 2014. The faculty were slightly different at the time, of course, because people retire and other various opportunities come along. The faculty at the time were wonderful. The faculty are still wonderful, and they will be in the future as well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I think I've said this a lot, but this really is a family. I mean, it's a family within multiple institutions, and it's also a family for those that have graduated. So I want to just kind of give you an idea of some of our alum. And so, Alicia, if you'll go to scholars, again, people are going to come into this program. Oops, that's the wrong slide. It's okay. I probably put the wrong one. Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. I got backwards. So a 50-50. People pretty much either go into academia or they don't. So this is just a listing of all the different institutions where our graduates currently are. And so you can kind of see a pretty broad, they're all over the United States. And most of them, but not all, are in colleges of businesses. There are a couple of sections. John Musgrave, who's at the Indiana State University, is in, I think they're a College of Technology, and he's in a core human resource development. And there may be a couple at Tyler Junior College, of course, is a different place, but most of the folks are in colleges of businesses. And so if you will click on University of Dallas, I just want to kind of highlight one of our graduates, which is Julia Fulmore. She just graduated, gosh, I think about a year after Greg did. And she kind of has my job at the University of Dallas. I got hired in here. I was recruited at the conference to come here from the University of North Texas to teach the quantitative methods core. And I was so excited when Julia applied for this position at the University of Dallas, which is an AACSB accredited DBA program. And she was hired basically to do the same thing that I have done for UT Tyler, but for the University of Dallas for their DBA program. And she's just done a phenomenal job. They just absolutely love her. So it is really, it's a cool thing to see, one of your students go off and kind of do what you do. And of course, she does it better, but it's good. So anyway, if you want to get into academia, we've got lots of folks that we can connect you with and show you the path, including Greg Keiffer, who's on. Okay, then I want to just show you about one person that's more of a scholar practitioner, and that's Paula Anthony. Paula Anthony is local to Tyler, and she has, you can kind of just scroll through kind of her, oh, there you go. Yeah, so she has been at UT Health East Texas, and there's been lots of changes in the health industry around here, and I kind of lose track of who owns who. But anyway, I guess she was with ETMC, and then there was an acquisition, so now she's with UT Health East Texas. So she was already an executive. She has taken her research skills and used those in her position. She received, I'm fairly certain, the Dissertation of the Year award. She is now moving and transitioning to a consultant position, a consultant work. So her new company is Syndetti, LLC. And I think if you're not going into academia, I think having a PhD especially from a college of business, is a great launching off point if you're in any work of either being an internal consultant or an external consultant. I've been a consultant for most of my work life. I still consult as I'm a faculty member. I tend to do that consulting in the summer because I want to make sure that I don't kind of lose track of what, not the academics, not real work, but corporate work. So I kind of keep that going. But anyway, so I've been a consultant for many, many years. And I can tell you, consulting with a PhD behind your name and getting indoors is a whole lot easier than without those credentials behind your name. People do look at that as, it really does just open a door. irrespective of anything else about you. So, and in our program, if you're interested in organizational development, then it's a great opportunity to get the credential. So again, you could either advance if you were an internal to an organization, like a colleague of mine is doing that at Raytheon, or if you want to do that outside an organization and then consult for other organizations. This is a great way to do that. And then you can apply everything that you learn about research into action research for the companies that you consult with. So it's a great opportunity. So Paula Anthony, the reason I'm kind of bringing these people up is these are people that whoever's listening on this webinar and the folks that are on today, if you've got any question about that, feel free to contact them because they can kind of tell you what the experience was like and how this degree helped them get to what they're doing today. And what the most important thing I'll make sure you understand, we recognize that you come into this program with a lot. So this is, we'll start talking about format here, but it's an executive format, and it's not just an executive format. People coming into this programs are executives. Greg came in with a long experience. His company was Wonder Man. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Sometimes I say Minute Man, but anyway. So everybody coming into the table are people that you would want to, like when I ran a company, I would have liked to just come into the class just to be able to sit around the table and bounce ideas off of people. So you're getting that as well. So anyway, feel free to reach out to any of those people and see how they use this to advance their career. Okay, let's talk about curriculum. And I'll try to camp out here for a little bit. So this is going to, and all of these links, this is all coming up to information that's on our website. Okay, let's go down to where that lists all the courses. Thank you. So we have, the whole thing is 60 hours. And those, the 60 hours is divided up into, 3 hours chunks, if you will. And then within that, there's subdivisions, if you will. You're going to see where she's got now research courses. That's listed 30 hours. That is a lot. But that's what I was trying to say. We are a research degree. So we start out in a class called Discipline Inquiry, which sounds like, I don't know, that's kind of very fancy. I would just say what that course is an introduction to research. So you kind of learn about literature review, you learn about empirical research, primary articles, secondary articles. People come in to our program with a master's, but some masters, especially MBAs, don't have much research. So we go ahead and teach you things that maybe you didn't get in your master's. And so that discipline inquiry is kind of like, it's like a leveling. It kind of gets everybody on the same level. Same time, that same semester, we give an introductory course to univariate statistics. Again, some of that information may be things that you knew, but maybe you forgot. I know when I took my first doctorate level statistics course, I was totally freaked out because the last time I'd taken math was calculus, and that wasn't like really fun. So I took a master's level statistics course to get me ready for that. Well, that's an awful lot to ask people to do. So what we do in this univariate statistics is I've got a primer module that I put together to kind of help you dust off the cobwebs about the statistics. And then we just start at the very basics and just get that common level of knowledge so that then we can move on into that next semester. After we get through univariate, we then look at multivariate statistics, and then we go to structural equational modeling. A unique aspect of our program is we also have a body of courses to deal with qualitative research. Now, if you come to University of Texas at Tyler, you'll know that I don't know anything about qualitative research other than how to spell it, and that's seriously it. But we have, let me think, two courses. We have a foundations course and an advanced course. Then our very last methods course, and this is a change from when Greg took the course, is kind of almost like a mixed methods. And so we look at advanced qualitative courses and advanced quantitative courses and let you kind of choose what are the things that you want to study that are maybe more relevant to what you're going to do for your dissertation. Everything we're doing in these courses, especially as it relates to research, is always with a dissertation in mind, because you can get all the grades you want, and probably coming into a PhD program, you're probably a good student, and that's great. you're not going to get a PhD if you don't get your dissertation. My mother's working on her PhD. She has been ABD for a very, very long time. And Greg will tell you that ABD is not a title. I give all of my students a bracelet and it says ABD is not a title. And then I cut it off when they defend their dissertation. You will not get your degree if you don't do your dissertation. So everything we're doing is focusing you on that, teaching you the methods, teaching you how to read the articles that you're going to be reviewing when you talk about your articles. So I kind of got off track there, but you're going to come out of this program a much more balanced researcher than I am. I came out as a quant researcher, and that's not hard to tell it. And I did take a qualitative research class because I didn't really understand what a terminal degree meant and when I got a second PhD. But I thought, oh my gosh, I was going to get my first B. And then I thought I'd get my first C. I just praying to just pass that class because I was too far gone in the quantitative realm to even think about qualitative research. So we recognize that can be a problem. So we teach both those research paradigms in parallel so you don't get so one-sided like I am. The people coming out of our program, because I listen to you guys at the Academy and hear the things they're doing. They're more well-rounded than I am. So I think our program's better than the program that I came out of. So then also what's listed here on these research courses are a couple advanced topics classes where you get to apply that research into some particular domain. You're applying it all over the time, every course that you have. You're learning something, and you're not learning it with just made up data, which is how I learn things. You're learning it either with data that a company has used, or you are going and collecting your own data and using it. So you get the good and the bad with that. And the good part is it's good experience. The bad part of it is data is messy and it's a mess. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the OD because that's kind of where the screen is right now. That's a typo. We're fixing that in the catalog. That OD specialization right now is 9 hours. And you'll see that there's a focus on organizational. We start out with organizational change and development. Then we start talking about interventions, and then we pull it all together with consulting. And so again, that consulting class is a great culminating class. And again, you can come out of that. You could probably get a paid engagement to do what you would do in that consulting engagement and then get a course and get some money out at the same time. And I think I covered everything other than dissertations, but then we allocate 9 hours for dissertations. I will say we have something on the books that what we have going through the graduate school curriculum committees is maybe doing a couple of tweaks. And so we're tweaking the curriculum just a little bit so that we go back to 12 hours for dissertations, and then we will eliminate one of the advanced topics in resource development. And if that goes through, we'll be able to get all of our coursework done in 2 years. And then you would do your dissertation. And we think that, especially because this is so intense, you heard Greg talk about people working 60, 70, 80 hours plus kids and doing this course and program. I'm not sure I could have quite done all of that. But we think you can do almost anything for a couple of years. And so right now our program is 2 years plus 1 semester with 1 course to do proposal development. And so we're just tweaking that a little bit to get all your coursework done in 2 years. And we think that's probably good for your support system, just to kind of have that 2-year boundary. And it's just a nice way to kind of think, okay, at the end of the second summer, I'm done. And now I just plow through and work on my dissertation. Okay. So do you want to now, Alicia, talk more about, or so you've got some more slides now to talk about these other things, sure. Delivery method and all of that.
Oops. Let me get to the right slides. Here we go. Okay, so you actually might be better at talking
sure.
a little bit about the program delivery.
Yeah. Okay. So it is this executive format, the idea that people are working. And so each fall and spring, we meet five times. And generally, it's every 3 weeks. Sometimes things like Thanksgiving or the Academy Conference or spring break kind of gets it kind of out of sync. But generally, it's every 3 weeks. Right now, the way it's working is students come in. If you're taking, if you're going along the degree plan, you would take 3 courses, 9 hours each semester. So one of those courses will be Friday night from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Then you come back Saturday, then you take a class 8 to 12 and 1 to 5. And the classes, you kind of come in with a cohort, presuming you don't get out of sequence, and then you don't have to think about what course. You just take whatever courses are offered for your cohort, and it kind of just goes in a sequence. And by the time you people be coming in, hopefully then you would be done in 2 years. In the summer, we meet one less time. We only meet 4 class meetings. And then it's 8 to 12 on Saturday and 1 to 5 on Saturday. A new thing that we're doing is that we are now we're having lunches together on Saturday. So in between those 2 class sessions on Saturdays, we're bringing food in, and we're going to, this will be our first time to do it, this class meeting this weekend. But I think what we'll be doing is we'll be bringing in guest speakers via Zoom and just kind of talking about different topics. So one of the things that I talked to Greg about is what some of our folks are interested in breaking into higher ed. So they've heard, my spiel on that, but I want them to hear that from other people that have done that. So while people are eating their tacos or fajitas, whatever it is that we eat, we're going to have like Zoom meetings and have people come in and kind of talk about special topics. We're also looking at different formats for dissertations. And so I think another session that we'll do is talk about this multi-paper format as opposed to these kind of the more traditional 200+ page dissertation formats. So that's going to be kind of a fun thing. So it really is kind of like you come in and it's like summer camp kind of, but it's shorter, but you're kind of you're in. And we did a survey to some of our alum recently, asking them different questions. And I kind of wondered about what was that like for people that had to say, like Greg came in from Houston and other people came in from Dallas and Fort Worth, and they stay the night. There's a little Staybridge Suites that's very close to the campus, and there's something else, anyway, to make a difference. Anyway, there's hotels that are close to campus. And I said, what was that like? And they liked it. They liked actually coming in, staying the night, kind of getting unplugged from the rest of the world and kind of just being all in. And so it really is all in and a great opportunity, not just to get your classwork done in kind of a condensed format, but also to network. And so these cohorts, they're many families. And so I talk about them as kind of being older, younger brothers and things, but it really is that. And so the older cohorts will help the younger cohorts and say, okay, yeah, well, you got Nimon's multivariate. Okay, now you're just going to have to think through, don't do this or do this. And so they give a lot of advice to each other, and that's really cool. And I think the reason that works is because it's a cohort model, and we try to make sure we have opportunities for people to network together in that beyond the coursework.
Kim, one of the questions we get a lot is from people who do not live in the area. And so can you just off the top of your head think of some of I know you mentioned the Metroplex area, Houston, where are some other places your students have come from?
Yeah, so certainly Houston, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, El Paso, Waco, Indiana, Florida. We have 2 students coming in from Florida. And it is these out-of-state students, that's one of the drivers that made me think, how can we make this a little bit easier for out-of-state students? And which is why, that's one of the reasons, another reasons why I wanted to get all the coursework done in 2 years. There's some pedagogy to having a proposal development course being the only class you take in 1 semester. But for those people that are flying in, and trying to keep that travel, we're just trying to optimize things. I mean, the program is great. Now we're just trying to optimize these things to make them even better. And yeah, people will, and the schedule of all that's kind of tricky too. But it turns out it works out pretty well. People fly in that are coming from out of state on Friday, and then usually they have to fly out Sunday because, we're done at 5. You might be able to catch a late flight if you fly out of Dallas. But most people that are flying in and out will stay Saturday night and then fly out Sunday morning.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. And then, I was going to say,
go ahead.
The other thing is, and I think different professors do this to more or less degree. I do this a lot. But because I teach the quantitative methods core, I have everything I do on Canvas, and which is our online platform system. Others may be familiar with Blackboard, but we're not. I don't forget you, and you don't forget me during those 3 weeks. We're interfacing. We're online. There's content, at least in my classes. There's content. There's videos. There's open office hours. You are connecting with your faculty every week, not just these touch points. And that's kind of how I have kind of used those class meetings. Greg's cohort was the first cohort that I taught here at UT Tyler, which is kind of why there's that kind of, in my mind, special bond. And so it took me a while to kind of get that rhythm of that, but it really is this kind of rhythm. It's okay, we've got content, we've got things to do you can do on your own, but then let's come back together, touch point. What can we do together that we couldn't do online? And that's kind of how most professors teach those online meetings.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about program cost and some various funding that's available. For full-time enrollment for in-state students, the estimated tuition and fees will be around $30,000. Again, this is based on 2020 numbers. So if students deviate from the degree plan, that could change, and obviously, tuition and fees are subject to change at any time. That's pretty decent tuition for a doctoral program. I think if you're looking around, you'll be amazed. There's also the new graduate fellowship that students who are enrolled full-time would be eligible for. It's a $1,000 annual award. The bonus for non-Texas residents is if they're awarded the new graduate fellowship, that also makes them eligible to pay in-state tuition. So that will save them around $9,000 a year minimum. And to be eligible for that, you do need to be enrolled 9 hours, and you have to meet or exceed one of the following criteria: 3.25 GPA on your master's degree, or a combined GRE score of 307, or a total GMAT of 500. So once you apply for the program, you can also apply for the new graduate fellowship. We're trying to revamp that so that students can apply for the scholarship at the time of admission. So we're hoping that will be launched in time for the next application cycle. And this is renewable. All you have to do is maintain a 3.25 GPA to remain eligible for it. For most doctoral students, that should not be too tricky.
But that's a great deal, especially for out-of-state folks, to know that you can get in-state tuition is a great thing.
Right.
We also have teaching assistantships that we can make available, and we're fine-tuning that as well for folks that have just a little bit extra time. That's a nice way. I think Greg served as a TA. I'm not sure he got any money then, but we have found money occasionally for paid TA positions, so that as you're building your vita, and you can kind of go through the process of kind of TAing and kind of working with professor. What actually we're doing right now is we're having one of our doc students actually shadow somebody at the undergraduate level, and then she is making modifications to the course, and then she'll teach the course, and she's getting paid. She'll be getting paid for all of that, so that when she graduates, she'll have all of that experience. So she's had the teaching experience, the development experience. And we think that's an important developmental part of the program, and there's an opportunity to have some money for that.
Right. Another thing I don't think I mentioned later, so I'll just throw it in here because it's loosely tied to money. We do have what's called Grad School 180. It's basically a 3-minute thesis type research competition that we host every April. Any graduate student, master's or doctoral level, is working on a research project is eligible to participate. There are 3 workshops during the semester. Those can be Zoomed for students who aren't on campus. And then there's a preliminary round, and 15 finalists are chosen to compete in April. There's a $500 first prize, $250 second prize, $125 third prize, and a $500 People's Choice Award. It's absolutely fascinating for me to see the level of scholarship that's going on in all of our programs. The public is invited. We have local judges. So the key is to be able to convey the significance of your research to a group of people who are non-specialists in your discipline. It really helps you focus on what's important about your research. It's kind of like an elevator speech for your research. And we post those. We have videos of the finalists, and those are done by our marketing department. And so they're suitable for posting to your LinkedIn page. Excellent way to find collaborators and to get your work out there. So I just mentioned that because last year, the person who won first prize also won People's Choice. So he walked away $1,000 richer at the end of the night.
That's great.
for a 3-minute speech. So
that's great.
Not bad. Yeah.
Not bad.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the admission requirements and the documents you need to submit. And then Kim, I'll ask you for a little bit of feedback on some of these. Obviously, the first thing you need to do is submit a graduate school application. That's found on the graduate school homepage here at UT Tyler. We will need official transcripts of your master's degree. Kim, one of the questions we get a lot is, well, I don't have a degree in business or HRD at the master's level. Does this mean I can't apply for HRD PhD? What would you say to that student perspective?
Well, yeah, and so Greg knows what the answer is going to be. The answer always is from a professor is it depends. And so, of course, it really does depend. It kind of depends on what your undergrad was in, what your current position is in. Like I have a computer science undergraduate, right? So how does that relate to HRD? But, you know, I've owned a business. I managed 100 engineers. And so, you know, when I went to UNT to apply, I wasn't sure how that was going to fit. So we look at we look at your application, your portfolio from a holistic perspective. And what we're looking to see is, are you a good fit? You know, when you're sitting around the table, if you will, with other students, are you going to have a common ground? When we start talking about things about human resources and employees, is that going to make sense? Or are you going to always have to be translating because maybe your interest is somewhere else? We do have some students that have come in more from kind of what I say K-12. Not a lot, but they have been successful. And if they're in the area of, they care about, say, teachers development, because schools are organizations, right? And teachers are employees. And, you know, we may not use this kind of the school example that often, so we may have to do a little bit of translation when that comes up. But I would say of all the masters that's not listed on here, it'd be a master's in education that people have been they've been very successful in the program. So. Okay.
Thanks. Your program's looking for a 3.0 GPA on your master's. GMAT or GRE scores need to be recent. They need to be taken within 5 years. People always ask us, what score is passing? What's the minimum score I have to have? As Kim said, it's a holistic process, so there's not a definite number that will knock you out of the running. Because if you have a high GPA, for example, that might offset lower GRE or vice versa, your work experience, all of those things come into play. So don't let fear of the GRE prevent you from applying. There are a lot of free prep softwares out there. The best ones to use are the ones that are on the GRE website. You can download a test prep kit. I can tell you that just downloading that, moving through the software to see, you know, how do I select an answer? How do I navigate from screen to screen? That eliminates so much of the test anxiety that you'll feel on that on test day. So I would encourage everyone to do that at a minimum. Again, you know, there are tips and tricks to how to improve your scores. But again, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't not pay attention to it, but at the same time, don't let that stop you from trying.
Yeah, like I went to a GRE prep class when I was applying, because like for my master's, I have a master's in organizational leadership. And based on my age at the time, I didn't have to take a GRE or GMAT. I'm not sure how that relates, but anyway. So it's true. So I went to talk to UNT. I go, well, you know, I'm whatever age I am now. I don't say what I am, but I said, do I have to take the GRE? And they go, yeah, we don't care how old you are. Go take the GRE. So I went to a prep class. I went to some hotel in Dallas, and we just hung out there and we did math problems. And that was great. I scored really great on the math because that kind of, you know, undusted all that knowledge. But then the English part, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know half those words. So that's what I'm looking at. We're getting ready to go look at applications. I'm looking at like some of those scores, you kind of get the number if you put your name on the paper, right? And so if you're scoring that low, then what I'm going is, okay, I'm starting to wonder, do you need to go do some work to kind of dust off that knowledge? Because even though that first year is kind of an acclimation year, it's still a pretty intense year. And so if you're still trying to remember, you know, how to calculate a mean and some kind of, you know, some levels of descriptive statistics, and that's hard for you, then you may need to go back and maybe do a master's level or some study. So much stuff's online. Take a course on your own to kind of get that knowledge up, because we don't want to take your money. We don't want you to admit you into this program and for you to be unsuccessful. That's our everything about this admission thing is just to make sure you're going to be successful and you're going to be able to do something with this degree when you're done that you want to do with it. Because like, yeah, you can do something, whether you want to do it. That's what we're trying to find, all that connections.
And what is it exactly that the program is looking for in a career statement?
It's exactly that. What do you want to do with this PhD? I don't remember, well, I didn't see Greg's career statement because I wasn't here when they admitted him into the program. But I would bet Greg's career statement said he wanted to become a professor in a college of business in the management department. And if it said that, I'd go, okay, we can help you make that. That's what my career statement said. I said I wanted to study workplace spirituality and I wanted to become a professor. And so they weren't so sure about the workplace spirituality part, but they knew that they could help me become a professor. If you say, hey, I've been doing this work as a trainer or instructional designer, but I want to get more into organizational development. I want to be either an internal or external consultant. Boom, we can help you do that. That's what we're looking. If you want to become an astronaut, well, we're not a good fit for that. We're not going to help you become an astronaut unless they want HR people in it. I don't think they want me in space.
Okay, resume I think is fairly straightforward. So moving on to the recommendation letters, a question we get all the time from prospective students is, my professor, I'm no longer in contact with my professors, or they've passed away, or I don't remember any of their names. It's been 30 years since I've been in school. Yeah. Who can write a recommendation letter, and what is it that the recommendation letter needs to address?
Yeah, those are kind of tricky, right? Because, you know, and I can't, the way our program is, do the applicants send those, or do those come asynchronous?
They're supposed to come directly from the recommender.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So they don't come, they don't collect them and then send them. Well, you know, what we're looking for is somebody it would be helpful if it was somebody that had gone through a PhD program, who understands the rigor of what it is, and could say, look, and if they have PhD by their name, we get that. That goes, this person has the, it's not just the knowledge and skills, because the vita and the career statement and your transcript's going to tell that. But do they have what it takes, the kind of the grit, if you will? Do they have the grit to do a PhD program? Not just do it, because people that apply and get masters are usually pretty good at coursework. But do they have that independence? Are they self-sufficient to do the independent work, to do the dissertation? That's what I would like to see in a recommendation letter. A lot of times you don't see that in recommendation letters. But if I see somebody that writes it, that understands sort of PhD program and says, I think this person can be successful, that's great. You know, I had the same problem with my recommendation letters. I think I had my priest write me a recommendation letter. And now I think about it, I go, what? How that made any difference? But anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's when I was doing my master's. But so that's what I'm looking for. Somebody to kind of vouch that you have what it takes. Not academically, we can figure that part out, but that kind of intangible, those other things that we can't tell. Even if I talk to you, I can't tell that. But they know you. They know that inside you, you've got that drive to make this happen. That would be helpful to see in a recommendation letter.
Okay. And what about a writing sample? What constitutes a writing sample? Does it need to be over a specific topic? How long does it need to be? Is there any particular format?
So what we're looking for, we want to see, you know, really, this sounds trite, but, you know, can you put a sentence together that, you know, from undergrad level, you don't always know if that's true. Hopefully at a master's level, you can write. You're going to be doing a lot of academic writing. And academic writing is different than corporate writing. So I'm looking for an academic writing sample. And ideally, if it would be APA style, that would be lovely, because that's how we write. That would be nice that you would show that you know how to do that. If not, we will teach you that. If it could be something like, if you've been in a master's program, typically you write papers in your master's. So that's what I submitted when I applied for my PhD. So some academic writing would be very helpful. So, and something that you use from your master's program would be very good. I would go back and look at it, make sure that, you know, you fixed, you know, errors and things like that. If you don't have something, or maybe what you have is, I don't feel like you have anything new. If you want to write something, then I'd write something related to HRD. You know, you could, you know, take a particular question and research it. A writing sample that shows that you can synthesize information from academic literature. So, you know, I'm thinking a paper that has references and that you have synthesized that information from references. Obviously, we would not want to see in a writing sample where you plagiarize from somebody else. That would be very bad. And so that, you know how to, peer-reviewed literature, that would be great, that you can synthesize information from peer-reviewed literature. You can kind of put a paragraph together. You can kind of, you know, put a theme together. You have something to say and you can communicate it. That would be all wonderful things to see in a writing sample.
Okay, that's very good. Very helpful advice. So what can they expect to be asked in the interview? How long does it take? Is it via phone? Is it Skype or Zoom? What do they need to prepare?
Yeah, and it's been different depending on who sits in this chair. And so this is my first time to sit in the chair. And so I tend to be kind of inclusive with the department, the other students, other faculty. So we haven't decided how that's going to work this time, but probably be via Zoom or phone. And whatever we do for one, we'll of course do for everybody. My overarching question is, what do you want to do with this degree? That's the most important thing to me, is I want to make sure that what you want is going to be a good fit. And it's easier to think for me at UNT, because at UNT, we had people come to campus. And so UNT is a very different model. It was come to campus for classes. Classes were all over the university, so there was no method to it was just madness. It was very hard for a working person. But people would come in, they say, hey, I want to teach in a college of business in the management department at Texas A&M. And we were in a college of information. I said, that is not going to happen. That was not, I mean, anything can happen, right? But very, very super incredibly unlikely that was going to happen. So that's what we're looking for. So, and like we had a student who was in nursing, and you're kind of looking at this person in nursing going, how is this going to work, right? But somehow what got missed is what that person was going to do with her career trajectory. So she was getting into staff development. So she was going to be, I don't know what nurses do. I mean, I know what nurses do, but like a nurse supervisor. And so that degree was going to help her with that. Somehow I didn't see that in her application, but that came across in the interview. So again, we just want to make sure that we are a fit. And if we're not a fit, I was just talking to somebody at the academy. This gal was interested in something really related to school improvement. It was very, very specific. And we at the University of Texas, Tyler, have is it a PhD? I can't remember, a doctorate degree in school improvement. I think it's going to be a EDD, right?
EDD.
So it's just starting out. And so I was listening to her, and sometimes like if you're not in higher ed, you don't even know you don't even know the words to apply to this, right? And so I was listening. She goes, I wanted to figure out how to get organizations to change. But again, she's talking about schools. And she's talking about special ed and things like that. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, okay, you could be in our classes and you could be doing the translations, students to employees and all of that. But something inside me thought, this may not really be the right fit. So I went and looked at our school improvement doctorate, and I thought, that might be a good fit. So I texted her the link, and she goes, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So we're here to help you. And if we're not the fit, we'll help direct you to other places that may be a better fit.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's talk about deadlines. This is a fall admission only program. The deadline is April 1st for the graduate application, and all the supporting documents must be in by April 1 to be considered for admission. Electronic documents, letters of recommendation, really everything, resume, career statement, all of those things can just be emailed to OGS, that's Office of Graduate Studies at uttyler.edu. The official hard copies of scores, if you are sending hard copies of scores, those would go to the grad admissions office, mailed to the grad admissions office. If you have hard copy of your official transcripts, those can also be mailed to grad admissions. Both of those things, scores and transcripts, most places will send those electronically. And once all of the information is in, Kim, about how long does it take for you guys to notify applicants whether they've been admitted? About a month?
Yeah, because the end of the semester comes, and we have to get it done in April, because then we got to start working on grades, and then faculty just kind of go, they fly away for the summer to do research.
Also, just to put another reminder that the new graduate fellowship deadline is also April 1. So if you're applying to the PhD and HRD, also apply for that fellowship at the same time. And any questions you have about the admission process, my team in graduate admissions, OGS, that email will be happy to help. If you have specific program inquiries like, what can I do with this degree, or this is what I'm interested in, would this program be a good fit for me, or what if I want to take this combination of classes or this or that, Kim and her team over there would be the best people to ask about that. Do any of our guests have any parting comments they'd like to share? Anything we haven't covered that you guys thought was important while you were trying to make your decision about whether to apply? Greg?
Not for me. This is Rhonda. Okay. Not for me. I think I'm looking over everything and trying to decide what exactly, and so this gives me a good jumping point from that aspect. So I have most of the questions that I would have you guys answered, but if I have any more, I can always email you two or Greg.
Okay. Rhonda, if you also want to email ogs@uttyler.edu and let them know you attended this webinar, we'll waive your application fee.
Wow.
Cool.
Is that true for Kathy too?
Yes, yes.
Is it true for anybody listening to this webinar?
Yeah, well, it's true for any of the people who are on now. When we post it, we need to have live interaction for the app fee waivers.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I had
Kathy,
one.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
One closing concept, Alicia, is the sense that, and Dr. Nimon mentioned this earlier, is that many people come in with great deals of experience into this program, which also means they care greatly about what either they have been doing or what they want to go do. And just one aspect about this particular program is that if you come in with an idea that you want to go do workforce performance or something along those lines, you're able to study virtually any relevant topic within the field. In other words, if you want to go research nonprofit organizations, you can go do that. If you want to go research information organizations, you can go do that. And practically any construct that's related to the coursework, of course, within those particular fields. So the course is very directive on how to go do that. But at the same time, you are allowed to go research things that you care about, which I think is very important.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's a huge differentiator as well. There are other programs where once you pick your major professor, the major professor says, all right, this is what you're going to do. And we are not that way.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate the opportunity to meet you guys. Greg, nice to see you. And Kim, thank you for all your expertise. Like I said, please refer to the emails on the screen now. If you have any questions, we're happy to help at any point in the process. It's a pretty straightforward application process. Everything moves fairly smoothly. So if you run into any hiccups, give us a call. And that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.